Simsy Claire here and welcome back to my channel. So today we are decorating an apartment in the Arts District of San Myshuno. It is 122 Hakim House. I think that's how you pronounce it. If it was wrong, I apologize. But my initial plan for this was that it was going to be a family apartment with 2 bedrooms and an office. But the apartment was a lot bigger than I remembered it being from the last time I had been inside this apartment. So it ends up being 3 bedrooms and an office space, but I think that actually works out really well. It's 2 kids' bedrooms, a parent's bedroom, and then the office space. And the office space has a whole bunch of different arts and crafts things, including the new stuff, obviously, from Nifty Knitting. And I was really excited about it. And I do this cool thing with the entrance area because it looked just a little too closed off for me. I wasn't sure I was really liking not having it as an open floor plan. I'm not always like, I don't need openness, but having that really long wall there blocking off the entrance from the living room kind of just seemed a bit excessive. So I did cut out part of the walls and I end up using some wall decorations as dividers to make it look kind of like maybe it's sliding doors or something. But I just real quickly put in some flooring and wallpaper. It's pretty basic colors. It's a warm wood toned flooring because I wanted to play off of the non-pastel theme or the non-pastel colors of the new pack. A lot of it is pastel. I mentioned that in my last video, but there are some that are not. They're warmer and I really like all those tones, so I wanted to pull those out for this video here so I could show you guys the different types of stuff that you can do with this pack. And I put a closet in the corner there. You always need a lot of room in apartments for storage because they're so small. Not this one though, because this one's just huge. But usually in like real life you need a lot of storage, so I figured that there would be at least a single hallway closet, if not more. And then I also placed a bathroom right by the front door because I didn't have anything else to put in that little corner. And I also end up adding a laundry room later on because there's this little indent in the living room. You'll see it when we get in there. And I didn't know what to put there, so I just ended up building a wall and I give them this really, really tiny laundry room. In the front area here that I just decorated, I gave them the basics: an umbrella rack, a coat rack, a shoe rack, and a mirror. And then I use this table from Movie Hangout stuff. I don't use it all that often, but I think that the Movie Hangout like bohemian vibe goes so well with the new Nifty Knitting stuff pack, and the colors play off of each other really nicely too, so I wanted to make sure I incorporated that pack as much as possible. And then I'm using my new favorite hanging plants over there in the corner, and then I just moved the rug because it seemed a little out of place being right near the front door and then having nothing on the floor throughout the rest of the entranceway, so I decided to move it so that way it kind of filled up the space just a little bit better. And then I'm moving on into the living room. I was initially going to use some of the couches from Movie Hangout, but I decided to stick with the Nifty Knitting couches. And I use the chair from Movie Hangout, one of the poofs that we got from Movie Hangout, but then also the poof that we got from Nifty Knitting. And I am so happy that we can actually sit on this poof. When Tiny Living came out and the poofs we got you couldn't sit on, they acted as tables, I was so confused. I didn't know why they would do that because the poofs from Movie Hangout, and I think we also got one in City Living, you can sit on those, so I didn't know why they gave us one that you couldn't sit on. So I was so happy when I realized you could sit on the ones from Nifty Knitting. And then I'm using just a couple of plants over here in the corner just to fill up some more of the space. And I really like how the living room turns out. It's a little minimal. I do add a couple more things towards the end of the video, but we'll get there, or I'll talk about that when we get there. But this is where I said I put the living room, so you can see literally it's like this tiny, or not living room, laundry room, it's this tiny 1x3 little square rectangle we have here, and it just has the laundry machines stacked on top of each other and a basket with a couple of different hanging like wall decorations, because anything else in there definitely would have kept it from being usable. And then over here I'm using these shelves that we got from Nifty Knitting. Now initially these were connected when we voted on them, but I heard that someone asked the team to disconnect them because it'd be easier for us to use, and I totally agree. I really like them that they're disconnected because you can size them down as I did and make them look a little different from one another. And I'm just putting a couple of different like plants and stuff in them. I put a picture frame, and I also end up putting some floor lights down here. Now I don't do that often because I don't really know if I would ever have candles sitting on the floor. I feel like that's a fire hazard, but I really like the idea, since this is like a bohemian kind of like really cluttered, really natural style of build, them just having candles everywhere. So I kind of like that. And then this is the kitchen. So I'm using the Jungle Adventure. I almost said Island Adventure. Jungle Adventure counters and cabinets here, and I don't use these all that often, but I've seen a couple of different people using them, and it reminded me just how pretty they are, so I decided to go ahead and use them here. And then the Parenthood stove, which is my favorite stove we have in the game, and then I believe that other one is just a base game refrigerator. But I'm just going through and cluttering up the counters as I always do. It's a whole bunch of different random objects. I mean, they're not random, they're kitchen objects. It's the bread box, some utensil holders, and what's that thing called? Paper towel holder, there it is. But yeah, and then I give them some spice racks and everything too. Because being in the city, they have all those, we got all the food stalls when we got the city, so I figured that they would definitely be kind of more adventurous with their cooking. Living in such a miscellaneous environment, they would be involved in the different food stalls and learning the different food cultures all around. And then I do build them a island here as well. I end up putting just a couple of stools. I end up moving them so that they're a little angled, almost a little bit more messy like. I figured this family wouldn't be that concerned with, you know, mess or anything like that, because they are, you know, they're a whole bunch of artists. I'm sure they have art supplies lying around and everything. And I thought that was just a neat little touch to kind of portray that. And I really wanted, you saw me there, I wanted to use those eco lifestyle plants, but when you size them down, they create this awful shadow that I didn't feel like dealing with on the counter because I didn't know how to hide it. So I decided just to do a couple of different plants. And then also that knitting almanac that we got from the new Nifty Knitting stuff pack. I really like all the clutter items we got in this pack. They are very, very knitting related though, which, I mean, obviously that makes sense, but I don't know if you weren't having a family who knitted, I don't know how well you could use some of these other items. I mean, they're good for general arts and crafts rooms, but I don't know. I feel like if there was like at least one swatch where that book didn't have like a yarn ball next to it, I would be extremely happy. But I still love all the items in the pack. I just think, I don't know how versatile they are, let's put it that way. But going in here, I'm using a whole mix of different things. I have tiny living, eco lifestyle, city living, movie hangout stuff, but I love these curtains from movie hangout stuff, and I don't get to use them that often because I don't do a lot of builds that involve a lot of bright colors and miscellaneous patterns, but I was really happy I got to put them in here because they really are gorgeous, and I think that they pair really nicely with that eco lifestyle bed that I used. And this room is for the parents. Now, you could very easily make this for a teenager or something and just switch around some of the decorations in the other room, but I definitely wanted this room to play off more of what the outside decorations were, because obviously the parents are the ones decorating the apartment, so I wanted to make sure this one was very colorful and cluttered and artistic, because the parents I envisioned living here were very artsy. And I'm trying to go through and find some random objects just to place on the different tables, and I do end up deleting one of these end tables because I need room for a pet bed. You saw I placed some pet bowls in the kitchen, but I didn't put anything else for pets in the build, so I have to go back right towards the end and just fix that real quick. But I just finished up that room, and now I'm moving on to the ensuite for the parents' room. And it's very basic, it's just some kitchen counters and some random decorations. I don't go all out in the bathrooms with these. I figured, I don't know, I didn't really have a lot of space. The bathrooms were kind of small, and I didn't know where to place everything so that way it could all be functional, so I kind of just kept the bathrooms very basic, particularly this one, because you can see since I did the shower and bathtub combo, which I did that because, you know, I don't really like bathtubs in gameplay, but I feel like since they have a dog, it's necessary. They could always take the dog to a park and wash it in one of the bathrooms that's in the parks, because the one in, I think it is the one in the city, has like a random house in the middle of it that has a bathtub. So they could always take the dog there, but if they wanted to wash the dog in their apartment, obviously they needed a bathtub. So I wanted it to be functional for both. And then this is the kids' room. I figured the kid who lived in here was very into sports. And there you saw I was trying to size down a chair so that way it could look like pillows on that ottoman, but I couldn't get it to work quite well. I'm gonna try and play around with it to see if I can maybe make it work just a little bit better. But as I was saying, I thought that this kid was very into sports, so I gave them a whole bunch of the different sports items that we have. I gave them the soccer lamp and some sports posters, and you see here I put the sports equipment down next to their bed, and I'm just cluttering this up just a little bit. I figured that ribbon was maybe their like first soccer tournament or something. They got the ribbon they had won, so they had that placed right next to their bed to like remind them of what they've done and everything. And then I'm using the divider and dresser from the kids stuff room pack, I believe that's what it's from. But then in here, this is going to be the young adults room. So I did think that the parents were a little bit older, probably not elders quite yet, but definitely older adults, and they had a child who had just graduated out of high school and was going in university, and this is where they were. Now I figured that they were definitely a bit of a brainiac, so I decorate this with a whole bunch of science stuff and an anti-Brightchester poster and a Foxbury Bot Savants poster, so that way you could tell that they were definitely into robotics and science and all of that different stuff. And I kept the room pretty minimal because I felt like they would be out most of the time, like they would be out with their friends or out in club and working at school for their robotics stuff, because obviously they don't have a robotics table here, so I figured that that would be where they spent the majority of their time. And then this is going to be the arts and craft room. So I do use these new items that we got from Nifty Knitting, obviously, and I love how all of these items snap together. I think that was a really cool thing that they gave us, because obviously that means you can create all different types of workbenches, and with all the different swatches you get a whole bunch of different materials too, so it doesn't just have to be knitting workbenches, which I think is really nice. And then of course I get a couple of different arts and crafts items in here as well. I give them an art easel and a candle making station, because I figured that they definitely just did a whole bunch of different types of like do-it-yourself work, which I think is really cool. And I really like how all of these items kind of go towards creating a space for do-it-yourself work. And then I'm just adding a couple of more decorations here, as I said, that I did towards the beginning of the video, and then that is it for this. So the screenshots will be coming up shortly. Thank you all for watching this, and I hope you stick around for the next one, and I will see you all then. Bye!
Thank you.